pastries, puddings, pies, The Sopranos has its fair share of sweet treats. Main man Tony is a habitual lover of ice cream sundaes throughout the show's 6 seasons, usually consumed on a large couch in North Caldwell whilst enjoying a history documentary detailing the movements of Rommel's Afrika Korps. Paulie Gualtieri, well known for his highly mercenary outlook on life, displays a rather rare and uncharacteristic concern for a box of Sfogliatelle.
Hey, this Sfogliatelle, what's wrong with you?
And who can forget the scene in which Christopher, in his eagerness to obtain a selection of delectable Italian pastries, discharges a firearm 3 times in broad daylight in a busy urban neighborhood, injuring a civilian in the process. Mrs. Soprano, whilst being one of the few characters in the show to maintain a svelte figure through the limitation of calorific intake, does have a hand in increasing the weight of other characters. While Carmela can be found preparing food in many episodes of The Sopranos, her treatment and preparation of several set-piece dishes is used as an allegory for some unspoken desire. The most obvious example of this is Mrs. Soprano's provision of sustenance to men for whom she yearns, either in a purely carnal sense, or more commonly in a spiritual, emotional sense, attempting to fill the gaping void which Tony's philandering and increasingly sociopathic disregard for her psychological needs leaves in her life.
Very allegorical.
In all these cases, the meal is not only a symbol for Carmela's desire, but it is also presented with an ulterior motive. Carmela's cooking for Father Intintola is an expression of care for which she receives spiritual satisfaction and the whiff of forbidden sexuality in return. Her rage when she discovers the priest receiving food from other women reinforces this idea. Carmela's infatuation with Furio Giunta too is expressed through the medium of food. Her offering of fresh-baked cookies is Carmela's veiled approach to Furio. His refusal can be viewed as a reluctant turning down of a dangerous proposition. Tony's ungrateful devouring of a cookie rams the allegory home, highlighting his total lack of sensitivity, a sensitivity which Carmela so craves and recognizes in our friend from the other side. Food is not simply a symbol for physical desire either. In her presentation of a pie to the lawyer and prestigious Georgetown alumna, Joan O'Connell, Carmela is in search of a recommendation for her daughter's college application. The pie itself, a ricotta number made special with the addition of pineapple, is part of an intricate routine intended to flatter and intimidate Carmela's target into providing Meadow with the recommendation.
I don't think you understand. I want you to write that letter.
Despite subconsciously, and at times consciously, detesting Tony's method of revenue generation, Carmela is Machiavellian in her utilization of her husband's image to further her goals. Today, in honor of Mrs. S's symbolic and at times rather cynical use of food, we will be making her ricotta pie with pineapple. Combine 1 cup plain flour, 1/4 cup of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and around 5 tablespoons or 70 grams of butter, cut into cubes. This will create our pie crust. Incorporate these dry ingredients with your hands until they have the consistency of coarse sand. Whisk 1 egg and stir well into the mixture. You should now have a dough. Knead it until no dry bits remain. Wrap in cling film and place in the fridge for at least an hour. Now we turn to the filling. Add 1 tablespoon of flour or cornstarch and 1 cup of sugar to a bowl. If they tell you you're sweet enough already, you can go easy on the sugar. Whisk together. Now add 3 eggs and beat them into the mixture. Next, add 1 pound or 450 grams of ricotta cheese along with 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract and blend well. Next, add 1 cup of heavy cream and stir again. Finally, you can add pineapple. Drain the pineapple chunks well and stir them into the mixture. Now for the construction of the pie. Take the dough out of the fridge and roll it flat. Be sure to use plenty of flour to prevent sticking. Take a pie dish, ideally around 8 to 9 inches in diameter, and line it with freshly rolled dough. Ensure the dough conforms to the shape of the dish and trim the excess from around the rim. Because my dish is quite shallow, I'm using the excess dough to build up the crust a bit. Pour your pie filling into the dish, ensuring that you have at least 1/4 inch of crust above the surface of the filling. The pie will need 15 minutes in a hot oven at 425 degrees. After this, reduce the oven temperature to 325 degrees. Bake for a further 60 to 80 minutes. After baking, the pie will be ready. This turned out to be delicious. The ricotta makes this very similar to a cheesecake, and the pineapple complements the rich, creamy filling very nicely. Now you too can intimidate the alumni of prestigious educational institutions in order to gain recommendations for your offspring.
Fuck the orange juice.